Here is a question I get more than almost any other. I've got some money saved up. Should I keep it in cash or should I be investing it? And honestly, most of the answers out there are either too vague or they push you towards one extreme. Either cash is terrible, you are losing your money every day, or just invest everything, it will be fine. Neither of those is actually helpful. So in this video, I want to give you a clear, simple framework specifically for 2026 that helps you figure out exactly what your money should be doing and where it should be sitting. No hype, no jargon, just a clear answer. Let's get into it. So before we get into the numbers, I want to quickly explain why this question is actually harder than it looks and why most people end up more confused after Googling it than before. When you search, should I invest or save, you get two camps. Camp 1 says cash is a terrible idea. Inflation is eating your money alive. You need to be invested. Camp 2 says investing is risky. The market could crash. Keep your money safe. And both of those people are technically correct. But they are talking about different situations and they are not telling you the full picture. Here's the thing, cash and investing are not competitors. They are not doing the same job. They are for completely different purposes. And once you understand that, the whole decision gets a lot simpler. So let me break it down. Let's start with cash, and I want to be really clear here. I am not going to tell you cash is bad. Cash is genuinely useful. In fact, in some situations, cash is exactly the right place for your money. But here's the thing most people don't think about. Cash has hidden cost. It's called inflation. Inflation basically means that over time, the things you buy, your food, your rent, your bills gradually get more expensive, which means a pound today buys you slightly less than a pound did 5 years ago. Now, in 2026, we have been through a period of quite high inflation in the UK. It's come down from its peak, but the cost of living has already risen significantly, and your cash savings need to at least keep pace with that. Here's a simple example. If you had £10,000 in cash back in 2020 and it just sat in a current account earning nothing, that money would have noticeably less buying power today. The notes in your hand look the same, but they don't stretch as far. Now, and this is important, a good cash savings account can help protect you from that. In 2026, easy access savings account in the UK are offering somewhere around the region of 4% to 5%, which is genuinely competitive, especially compared to where the rates were a few years ago. So if you have cash in a high street savings account or even better a cash ISA, then you are at least practically protecting your money from inflation. But here is the key question. Why do you have the cash and when are you going to need it? Because cash is brilliant for two things: emergencies and short-term goals. Number 1, emergencies. You need a financial cushion. Life is unpredictable. Your boiler could break, you could lose your job. Having cash you can access quickly without penalty, without having to sell your investments. That is not a mistake, that's smart. Most financial guidance suggests having somewhere between 3 to 6 months of essential expenses sitting in an accessible savings account. That's your emergency fund. And that money, it should absolutely stay in cash. Number 2, short-term goals. If you are saving for something you need in the next 1 to 5 years, a house deposit, a wedding, a car, a sabbatical, that money should generally stay in cash. Why? Because if you invest that money and the market falls 30% in 6 months before you need it, you have a problem. You would either have to sell at a loss or you would have to delay your plans. Cash gives you certainty, and for short-term goals, certainty matters more than growth. So, cash for emergencies and cash for short-term goals. Okay, now let's talk about investing. Investing is for the long game, and I want to be just as honest here as I was about cash. Investing comes with real risk. The value of investments can go down as well as up. That is not small print. This is the actual reality. In any given year, the stock market can fall significantly. We saw that in 2022, we saw that in 2020. Markets go through periods of volatility. If you have invested and you check your portfolio on a bad week, it might genuinely look scary. But here is the other side of that. Over long periods of time, and I'm talking about 10, 15 or 20 years, the stock market has historically trended upward. Not in a straight line, not without bumps, but over the long term, globally diversified investing has generally outpaced cash investing and inflation. A simple example, If you had invested £10,000 into a globally diversified index fund 10 years ago and left it alone, you would likely have significantly more than £10,000 today. Even after including the bad years, past performance doesn't guarantee the future returns, but the long-term logic holds. Now, the critical word here is long-term. Investing works when you don't need the money for a long time. Because if the market drops, you can wait for it to recover. You are not forced to sell. Time is your advantage. If you need the money in 2 years, you don't have time to ride out a downturn. That's why investing is not for the short-term money. But if you are building wealth for 10 years from now, for retirement, for financial independence, for your future self, then cash savings on their own will likely not get you there. Inflation will quietly eat into the real value of cash over time. That's where investing has a genuine role to play. Alright, let's bring it all together. I want to give you a simple way to think about this. Think about your money in 3 buckets. Bucket 1, your emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of essential expenses that lives in an easy access savings account or a cash ISA. You do not invest this, full stop. This money needs to be accessible and stable. Bucket 2, short-term goals, money you need within the next 1 to 5 years. A house deposit, wedding fund, a big purchase you are planning. This money stays in cash, ideally in a high street savings account or a cash ISA. So it's at least keeping pace with inflation where possible. Bucket 3, long-term money. You don't need this for 5+ years. This is the money that investing is designed for. If you are saving for retirement or you are building wealth over a decade or more, this money is a candidate for investing through something like stocks and shares ISA or a pension. Now, very importantly, you don't have to choose just one of these. Most people will have money in all 3 buckets at the same time. The goal is to match the right type of money to the right tool. Short-term money, certainty. Long-term money, growth potential. And here is the order I would suggest if you are starting from scratch. Step 1. Build your emergency fund first. Before you invest a single pound, make sure you have that safety net. Step 2. Once that's in place, think about any big financial goals you have in the next few years. Set aside cash for those. Step 3. Once step 1 and 2 are covered, any money left over that you are genuinely able to leave for the next 5+ years, that's what you can start putting to work through investing. Now, a quick word on where to actually hold your money in the UK, because the tax wrapper matters. We have some genuinely useful tools here. A cash ISA lets you earn interest on savings without paying tax on it. In 2026, you can put up to £20,000 per tax year across your ISAs in total. Cash ISAs are ideal for your emergency fund or short-term savings if you want to keep things simple and protect from tax. A stocks and shares ISA lets you invest in things like global index funds and not pay tax on any growth or income for those investments. This is typically where long-term investing lives, again within your £20,000 annual ISA allowance. And then there is your pension. If you are employed, your workplace pension is one of the most efficient tools available to you, especially if your employer matches contribution. You get tax relief on contributions going in and it grows tax efficiently over time. The downside is that you generally can't access it until you are in the late 50s at the earliest. So it's very much long-term money. I will link some more detailed videos on ISAs and pensions below if you want to go deeper on any of those. The key takeaway here is use the right tax wrapper for the right job. Let me just run through a few realistic scenarios so this clicks. Scenario 1. You have £1,000. You don't have any emergency fund yet. That £1,000 goes into an easy access savings account or a cash ISA. You build your safety net first. You are not behind. You are doing the right thing. Scenario 2. You have £5,000. You already have a small emergency fund. You are not planning any big purchases in the next year or two. In this situation, you might think about keeping £2,000 to £3,000 as your stable emergency fund in cash and consider whether the rest could start being put to work in a stocks and shares ISA if you are confident you don't need it for 5+ years. Scenario 3. You have £10,000 to £20,000. This is where the 3-bucket approach really starts to matter. You would separate out your emergency fund, set aside anything you know you will need in the next few years, and then think about putting the genuinely long-term portion into an ISA or pension invested into something like a globally diversified index fund. And I want to be clear, I'm not telling you exactly what to do with your money. Everyone's situation is different. What I'm giving you is a framework to think with. If you want personalized guidance, a financial advisor is the right person for that. So let's wrap this up. Cash and investing are not enemies. They have different jobs. Cash is for your emergency fund and anything you need in the next 1 to 5 years. Investing through something like a stocks and shares ISA or a pension is for money you can genuinely leave alone for the next 5 years or more. Build your emergency fund first. Be honest about your short-term goals and only invest money you truly don't need for the short term, because then you have the time to ride the ups and downs of the market. That's it. That's the framework. I want to know what's your biggest question right now. Are you trying to figure out your emergency fund, your ISA, your first investment? Drop one word or one question in the comments below and I will use those to decide what video to make next. If this was useful, a like genuinely helps this channel reach more people like you. And if you want to stick around for more UK personal finance content that doesn't overcomplicate things, subscribe and hit the bell so that you don't miss the next one. Thanks for watching and I will see you in the next one.